One of those questions would be, can you really make money as an online notary? Well, I think the answer to that is most definitely. Well, welcome everyone. In today's video, we're going to talk about what it's really like to be an online notary. Is it something that maybe you would want to learn how to do? Is it something that could be done as a hobby or as a full-time income? So today's video is going to be a little bit different. I am going to try to make at least one video a week and maybe even two, and I'll be making some shorts. So I would love to have some input from you as far as what you want to hear from me. As you know, I am a remote online notary, but I'm also a mobile notary. But I think most of you are interested in the online notarizations. So that's what we're going to talk about today. This format is just going to basically be a podcast type thing where I'm asking some questions, and these are questions that you may be asking and want answers to, and the same kind of questions that I asked myself when I first started. One of those questions would be, can you really make money as an online notary? I think the answer to that is most definitely. And can it be very, very consistent? I don't believe you're going to do that right away. So don't fall into the falsehood of thinking that, oh, I'm going to become an online notary. People are going to be giving me leads. All I have to do is sign up with this platform and take their course and buy their courses. And then all of a sudden things are just going to fall into your lap, because I'm going to tell you, it's not going to happen. It does not happen that way. You have to be able to find your own business, and that can be hard and it can be daunting because, first of all, you want to feel competent in your skills as an online notary. And how do you get those skills? By repetition and by just going forward. I've made some previous videos on some of the necessary skills. You might want to take a look at that. But primarily, the way that you're going to get better is by just diving in there and doing it. And you might ask, well, how did you learn to become an online notary, Margie? Well, I did a lot of investigation. I contacted the Texas Secretary of State. I've read their website. I've read books. There's not very many books on remote online notarizations. Maybe I'll write a book. But having friends, other friends that are notaries, and we kind of share our experiences. And I have a couple of really, really good online notary friends that do this full time, and we help each other out. When one of us can't do a notarization, we'll refer it to the other one. So that definitely helps to have a network. So as I ramble on here, one of the questions that I wondered in the beginning was, is there some sort of certification for RON, or do I need a certification? There is no such thing as a, quote, certification for RON, although there are people coming out with courses, and I want to caution you because there may be people out there making courses on RON when, number one, they're in California where RON is not actually available, or number two, they're not actually practicing being a RON, but they have just gone and taken information from other people's YouTube and they're winging it. So I think the best course is to actually learn from people that are day in and day out doing online notarizations. I do online notarizations every day. And you might say, well, Margie, why are you doing this? And I hope to lead you and help you and guide you on the journey if you're truly wanting to become an online notary. Now, is becoming an online notary for everyone? I don't think so. There are certain skills that you need to have if you really want to become a good online notary and if you want repeat business. And let's see, what might those be? Well, number one, I think you should try to be professional. Number two, I think that you need to sharpen your skills. You do need to have some computer skills. So if you have a background in any type of software like Microsoft, Excel, PDF programs, DocuSign, that's going to help you a lot. Now, if you've never really gotten on a computer and used software programs, document programs, then it might be a little bit more of a challenge for you. And the reason for that is you're going to run into technical problems. You're going to run into technical issues, and you need to be able to on the fly troubleshoot. And in the beginning, you might panic and not know how to solve an issue. And the more you do online notarizations, the more you'll encounter new situations, and you will be able to solve those problems with your technical. Now, let's see. One of the questions that you might think about is, what is the hardest part about being an online notary? Well, I really do think the hardest part is the frustration. The frustration when you might have a signer that cannot pass KBA, knowledge-based authentication. They cannot pass CA, credential analysis. So basically, when I do an online notarization, I send my client a link, and with that link, they're supposed to click on it, and it will guide them automatically as to what they need to do next. So basically, it'll say, upload your driver's license, click here, or scan this QR code so that you can then take a picture from your smartphone. Some people can't follow directions real easily. Like they might take the first step and then they don't hit the button that says next. So sometimes you really, really, really have to handhold some of these people. So that can be extremely frustrating, because the way that I like to do it is when I send them an email letting them know that they're going to be receiving a link, I pretty much just tell them follow the directions. Because if I send them an email with a whole bunch of instructions, they're not going to read it anyway. So as long as they can follow instructions and they've read my initial email, which states that they must have a U.S. passport or a U.S. ID, which might be a driver's license or U.S. identification card. A lot of times, that's one of the questions that's on my forms that they fill out when they request an online notarization. And they'll put, yes, they have all of those things, but then later when they start going through the credential analysis, they say, oh no, I don't have a U.S. ID. Well, that's one of the questions that you answered. So then sometimes we might have to pivot. If they do not have a U.S. passport or identification, then there are steps that we can take to still get that done. Now in Texas, we cannot do biometrics. And in the past, I was forwarding a lot of my online notarizations to Florida because they could do biometrics, and this was for foreign signers. However, now I use a credible witness. 9 times out of 10, that will work. They just have to have someone that can pass KBA and CA, and then they'll swear an oath that they know the signer to be the person that they say they are. But this credible witness, again, has to pass KBA and CA. So there are challenges. That's one of the challenges, is just getting them through that initial passing of the identification verification. Sometimes they don't have a social security number. And you might ask, well, why do they need a social security number? Well, for the platforms that I use, that is how KBA is generated, through their social security credit history. So they're going to be given 5 questions to answer, and those questions are based upon their credit history. So I might ask them, have you ever lived in one of these 5 homes? Which one? And so if they don't have a social security number and they haven't built up any sort of credit, there's not going to be any way to generate those questions. So you can see that. Now, another issue might be if it is a signer in another country and they do not have a US based phone. They might have a social security number and have that ID, but they don't have a US phone. We find that can definitely cause some issues for sure. Now, also, sometimes signers can't upload their ID and stuff, and it might be because they're trying to use a VPN or a virtual private network. So, these are steps that you'll learn along the way, troubleshooting skills that you will learn to help your clients to be able to pass, and then you will be the hero because you know how to get them through it. Now, something else that can be a technical issue is if the signers, and I stress to them, make sure this is the correct emails of all of the signers. And they'll send an email with a typo. Well, with the platforms that I use, if you send me an email and it's incorrect, and then I've got 3 signers and I send invitations to all 3 of those signers, 2 of them might go boom, 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 pass everything, but then that third one is a wrong email address. Well, we have to start all over, and that includes tagging and everything. So you want to make sure that they're giving you the correct email addresses. So that can be quite frustrating and take a lot of time. So make sure that they are using the right email. Another thing that you might be looking out for is there might not be any notarial language in the document that they upload. And if there's no notarial language, you need to know, how are you going to get that language in the document? Are you going to attach a loose leaf? And you're going to ask them, do they want a jurat or an acknowledgement? You need to be able to explain the differences between the two. And this boils down to, number one, being a good notary in the first place and knowing notary laws. So a lot of people want to know, can you just become an online notary first and then learn those skills? I do think so. I'm an example of, that too, because I pretty much did most online notarizations before I did the in-person ones. But I'm one of those people that study, read, and I wanted to make sure that I knew the law before I started doing my notarizations. But if you want to just hop on and be an online notary, but you're not going to take the time to learn those skills and the laws, then that might be somewhat troublesome. Another thing, as an online notary, I do get a lot of POAs or power of attorney requests, and something that you might encounter is that you need to make sure that the signer is signing of their own free will, and you need to determine competency. Do they understand what they're signing? Are they of sound mind? And that can be a little bit trickier online versus in person. So that's something that you might encounter. Now, something else that you can encounter as an online notary is if you are working with people in other countries, there's going to be that time zone difference. So you need to clarify, what time zone are we on? And in a lot of cases, they're going to want you as the notary to maybe notarize something at 6 o'clock in the morning. And that might not be your hours. So that's something to be worked out as well. Well, I am back, folks. I had to take a break. Believe it or not, it really does take a lot to make these videos. But something you can learn from this is that might be what's stopping you as well, stopping you on your journey to becoming an online notary. Maybe it's tough. And you want to be perfect. You want things to be perfect. And one of the reasons that I haven't recorded as many videos, number one, I've been busy with the online notarizations, but number two is that I'm kind of a perfectionist. I want things to be perfect, but I'm not going to do that this year. We're going to have more of a laid back approach, and you're going to hear a lot more ums and ahs, but at least videos will be produced, and hopefully we can all network together. I do think that we can build this community so that we can network together. I'm here to help you, and I want to be a resource for you. So please go ahead and hit the like button and let me know that you are receiving some value from this, so then that way I know that it's worth it and I'm not just wasting my time, because I'm here to help you. And that's what this is all about. So thank you so much. I hope y'all have a wonderful day, and we will see you next time. Thanks.